again are now media, communicating impact for climate, nature, people and development. New day, new inspiration. Bringing freshest content on back with change makers in their own words, telling us what they're doing, how inspiring that content is, and also getting together generally what we can be a part of to support their journeys. And joining me is Tafadzwa all the way from Zimbabwe. Correct me if I not get that correct.
It's correct. Tafadzwa.
Apologies. Tafadzwa. Welcome and a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Yeah, tell me a bit about yourself, what
So my name is Tafadzwa. I am a climate activist and humanitarian based in Zimbabwe. And for the past 7 years, I've been actively involved in climate action, inclusion of young people in the climate discourse. And I founded an organization called Emerald Climate Hub. We are into sustainable solutions, bringing about the innovation aspect and the inclusion of them to, not only environmental action, but also to have ownership of, the climate action as it's on its own. So we are based in Harare in Zimbabwe, and we have recently launched our biogas initiative in Harare, where we have managed to impact about 60 women with biogas initiative, that is capacity building and training, as well as entrepreneurship and ownership of the project.
Well, amazing, congratulations. I mean, how you can be part of this and this and organizations. But more on a serious note, with the kind of work that you do in the health sector as well, helping an NGO. How are you seeing the landscape changing for young leaders to take up this space and lead in the implementation solutions? How is the experience? How is it?
I think the experience is really great because we talk of inclusion and diversity, but then is it meaningful? Are we meaningfully involved in it? And me transitioning from, being a climate activist and being a youth leader, and also, inspiring other young people that it can be done with any tools or resources that you have and at your own capacity. I feel like on its own, it's an inspiration to other young people who also want to be young leaders. The journey is quite challenging because it takes a lot of room and space, but because of passion and dedication, I'm able to navigate it, and also being surrounded with a lot of a great team amongst myself and also other young people who are willing to support and learn throughout the journey has been, also great with that.
And on the same lines, biogas is a big investment. Does this speak to the current realities in Zimbabwe? How is the agency access the country? Are we talking about increased energy poverty? Are we talking about risk of biomass? And so that is why you bring this technology to avoid
So we talk of, the just transition and also improving livelihoods of communities. So it's not just about eradicating energy poverty, because we're experiencing energy poverty. We have been experiencing it for a long time. Even if with the fossil fuels we had, we still had the energy poverty. So now it's a more of when we are now transitioning, are we able to bring and solve the climate crisis, but also building in resilience within communities, because we are looking at women who are in rural communities who don't have access to electricity or energy at all their whole lives, and secondly, not have any access to education on even finding about solutions to solve what they are facing in their communities. So you see with women, they're the ones who are mostly, in households. They're the ones who are doing the cooking, but they're using dirty energy. But then we didn't want to say, stop using dirty energy, but what are we bringing to them, the solution? So it's more of marrying each other with the knowledge that they have and what we also have to, solve and also to build resilience in their communities.
Obviously, you are at COP. What brings you to transparency?
That's a very good question. As you all know, it's a finance COP. we've been talking about climate finance for the longest time, and we're advocating to ensure that, as people from the global south, specifically Africa, we get what we deserve for us to be able to mitigate and adapt to climate change. So, and we cannot do that without the financing. We talk of what we are doing back home, but then there's no room to, scaling up or for the projects to be bankable because we don't have, the finance for investment. So I'm here at COP to ensure that the gender is also included in the climate finance negotiations, and ensure that, the word gender or women are included in the climate finance negotiations as well as young people.
It is a good one. I'm just wondering whether you've seen any progress made since last week. I know I've been second week of COP. Is the gender question being taken seriously? Are women agendas being pushed? Is climate finance communities like yours being a priority? How the dynamics of COP?
I think the negotiations are a bit tight, especially on the aspect of Africa. And now that it's week 2, we hope that there's an increase of, women leadership in party negotiations and party delegations, because we're talking of gender and women representation, but when it comes to party delegation to negotiate on behalf of themselves, we are still outnumbered by the men. And I feel like it's a gap that we also need to keep on pushing, that when we go back home, we also get to train more women, because it's not only about just inclusion or to bring about a leader in front, but then for the longest time, women are not being able to be trained to be negotiators or to be given that platform. So we also need to ensure that we train a lot of women and young women as well, for them to be in those leadership positions and also to be part of the delegation and negotiation discourse, as much as we are outnumbered. So they're tight, but we hope to have a positive outcome, because we still have more days to go. So I'm looking forward to it.
You cannot afford to use our rights.
We can't. Not now. Not now.
Yeah, and I like the point you bring about is access is important, but also getting the woman empowered, like in terms of negotiations. Can we train them to get the skills met? And I know that with the young on the Sisters Academy and many other collaborative creating platforms for people to get skills and start the local content that they need to do this country. Of course, maybe what you're bringing from a African perspective. Tafadzwa, it's a trainers conference, is saying, right? And you're working back at home, you are the intersection of nature, people, climate. How are you seeing the future of all these things? Is climate like better space? Communities better prepared to deal with the crisis? It's nature, everything about that. Is biodiversity even safe with the teaching stuff?
I think how I can answer it is more of, is there hope for the future? And I believe that there's hope only if we are to include everyone and to amplify the voices of every single person. Because when we talk of the climate change discourse, the ones who are on the forefront have no idea what climate change is. But they're the ones who are experiencing, energy poverty, drought, cyclones. But then they have that knowledge aspect of how can we able to adapt in these conditions. So I feel like if there's more investment in education awareness, on the basic on what really is climate change, specifically being broken down into their language for them to understand, because how climate change is affecting me is not how it's affecting you or any other person who is in a rural community or in a marginalized community. And I feel like the hope can only be achieved when we don't leave anyone behind, when we're bringing about the solutions and, into the climate crisis that we are all in.
Amazing. And lastly, of course, there are young women across the world who are watching and listening to you. Yeah, definitely young people from across the world, older people as well, farmers who are inspired by your work. Just wonder what your final message to them would be. Straight to the camera and just speak a lot of encouragement today.
I think my final words would be in one word, which is equity. Thank you.
Equity. Just like the public agreements, let's be the implementers. Let us support the grassroots effort, and let us actually initiate the legal we have with what we got, what it matters to strength, it matters to do, and it matters to connect the community that is supposed to work. At our media, we get impact on climate, nature, people, and development. Until next time, it's been a wonderful pleasure hosting the one and only Tafadzwa.
Thank you.